He was deeply hurt by the fact that his best friend kidnapped his daughter for sake of money.
You're more like him than I thought.
No! Kidnapper threatened to kill her, leaving him with the most difficult situation on that particular eve.
Drop the bag.
Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The story kicks off with a guy stumbling around New Orleans, drunk as a skunk and looking like he's lost his life savings in Vegas. But nope, he's quickly picked up by an FBI tactical squad. They're on the lookout for a crew they think is about to rob a diamond shop. Cut to the actual gang. Well, Montgomery, our lead guy, along with his buddies Vincent and Riley, who are waiting on their hacker friend, Hoyt, to disable some cameras. Will, multitasking like a true dad, manages to chat with his daughter on the phone while they all grumble about Hoyt taking his sweet time.
I get home, I'm gonna make you those happy face pancakes that...
Finally, Hoyt wraps it up and they head for a toy store. Yep, the FBI's got it all wrong. Classic. Will and Vincent get inside and start drilling into a vault while Riley and Hoyt sit outside, waiting in the getaway van. The FBI's moving in, but Agent Tim Harlan seems like he's missing a memo, realizing something's off. Shouldn't this be harder? Tim thinks. They're not into small-time jobs.
It's too easy. This crew doesn't do too easy.
Just as Will and Vincent crack the vault, the FBI storms the diamond shop next door, totally oblivious that they're missing the real heist.
Like looking into heaven. Stay focused.
Meanwhile, Will and Vincent have their hands on a solid $10 million. Cha-ching. They're on their way out when Vincent decides to whack a janitor who spotted them.
I've been to prison, and I didn't like it.
Will's like, buddy, let's not add murder to our resume. But in the scuffle, Vincent accidentally shoots himself in the leg. Oops. The getaway gets rough when Hoyt, in classic I'm out of here fashion, drives off without Will. Talk about bailing on your friend. Will fights off the cops, steals a police car, and zooms away, but the chase doesn't last long. He ends up cornered, so he makes a big move. He burns the cash right in front of the cops. Goodbye evidence, hello handcuffs.
Hey, where's the money?
Fast forward 8 years, and Will's finally out of prison. He gets back to New Orleans and buys a toy for his daughter, Allison. Ah, sweet, right? Not so fast. The moment he steps outside, who's there but Tim, waiting to pounce? Tim's still convinced Will has that stolen cash hidden somewhere.
He's not asking. You probably afford to retire now with that sizable withdrawal.
And he's probably got his eye on some vacation plans of his own. Will, exhausted, explains that his wife left him, and Tim adds that his old buddy Vincent? Yep, he's supposedly dead after a run-in with a gang.
You know that Vincent is dead, right?
But of course, it's never that simple. Will finally reconnects with his daughter, Allison, but the reunion's awkward, to say the least. She's got the "you abandoned me" vibe going on.
I have something for you, reminding me of you.
Will tries to talk to her about why he did what he did, but she's just not buying it. She says she has to head to therapy. Yep, she's got plenty of feelings about all this, leaving him the toy. Dad, I'm too old for dolls, she says and calls a cab. She couldn't drop a bigger hint if she tried. Later, Will stops by a bar where Riley's now working. She's thrilled to see him. They chat, and things seem to be looking up for a second. But then, out of the blue, Will's phone rings. And who is it? Vincent. Turns out he's very much alive and holding a major grudge. He spent the last 8 years waiting for his cut of the cash. He tells Will that not only is he not over it, but he's kidnapped Allison to force him to cough up the money. Talk about holding a grudge. If only there were an award for most persistent ex-criminal partner. Vincent's as creepy as ever, and he gives Will 12 hours to get his hands on that cash. Or else. Will tries to buy some time, saying the money's with a lawyer in another city, but Vincent isn't biting. He's like, no pal, 12 hours. I'll be watching. At this point, Vincent's basically a budget bond villain. Desperate, Will scrambles to throw Vincent off his trail. He buys a new phone and heads to the train station, making it look like he's skipping town. But he sets up call forwarding on his old phone, leaving Vincent thinking he's gone, when really he's buying time. Allison, meanwhile, is locked in the trunk of Vincent's cab, while he cruises around, one step ahead of Will. Definitely not the cab ride she ordered. Will eventually goes to Agent Tim for help, but it's a disaster. Tim waves him off, saying, Vincent's dead. You're making this up? And to add insult to injury, Tim shows him Vincent's death file with a big OL, case closed, stamped on it. Will's practically shouting, he's alive, he's got my daughter. But Tim thinks it's all some new scheme. With his old partner turned kidnapper on the loose, a ticking clock, and Tim treating him like a con artist, and Will's got to figure out how to get his daughter back before Vincent loses his mind and goes full supervillain. Stay tuned to see if he can pull it off without a single dollar to his name. So, we left off with Will being escorted out of the police building, but on the way, he fights off the two agents, grabs one of their access cards, and sneaks into a different part of the building. Using a computer, he searches for Vincent's file and finds some info on Hoyt too. Of course, the agents have already reported the incident, so he has to hightail it out of there before getting caught. Meanwhile, Vincent's got eyes on Will's phone, thinking he's on his way to Tuscaloosa. Inside the trunk of Vincent's cab, Allison is tearing apart the back seat, hoping to catch the attention of some random guy who hops in. The guy starts chatting with Vincent, totally ignoring Allison. She tries to make noise, but he doesn't notice until Vincent throws him out of the cab and leaves him in the street. Allison finally spots a phone and tries to grab it, but her plan is cut short. Back at the FBI, they figure out that Will was searching for Hoyt's address on their computers and head over there. Hoyt's chilling at his place when Will shows up, demanding answers about Vincent. Hoyt tries to play dumb, but eventually admits that Vincent's been hiding out and blames Will for everything that went wrong after their heist. FBI agents arrive at Hoyt's place, and a fight breaks out between Hoyt and Will. Hoyt even tries to shoot Will, but when he opens the door, the FBI agents shoot him. Will makes his escape, leaping onto another roof and dodging bullets before finally getting back to the street. Will jumps into a cab, remembering it's the same one his daughter used. He forces the driver to call dispatch, hoping to locate Vincent by describing his one-leg buddy. Once he has Vincent's location, Will forces the driver out and speeds off. Allison, meanwhile, tries to text 911, but Vincent stops the car, killing her plan. A traffic cop pulls Vincent over for a broken taillight, and when he hears Allison yelling for help, he tells Vincent to open the trunk. Instead, Vincent shoots the officer, but in the chaos, Allison manages to escape. She doesn't get far though, as Vincent chases her down, drugs her, and throws her back in the trunk. Will reaches the area where Vincent's cab was last spotted, but it turns out Vincent ditched his GPS there to throw him off. FBI agents finally catch up to Will and arrest him for breaking his parole and illegally accessing FBI files. Will breaks his thumb to slip out of the cuffs and escapes, calling Vincent and saying he'll get the money back by doing another heist. Will meets up with Riley, explaining that Vincent's alive and has kidnapped Allison. He tells her there's still gold in the vault they almost robbed years ago, and they team up to pull off one last heist. Meanwhile, Agent Tim finds Vincent's file at the cab dispatch and realizes he might still be alive. As Will and Riley set up the heist, Tim starts piecing together Will's plan and heads for the bank. With only minutes to spare, Will melts the gold and cools it down just as the alarm sounds. The FBI arrives just as Will and Riley make their escape, loading up the stolen gold in a truck. Tim's team spots Riley with a decoy doll, while Will heads in another direction to meet Vincent. Vincent, holding Allison, demands to see the gold before he releases her. Will shows up with the gold, and Vincent lets Allison talk to him as proof she's still alive. The FBI, meanwhile, is tracking Vincent's usual hangouts, thinking he'll meet up with Will somewhere familiar. That night, Will meets Vincent at a secluded spot, but Vincent's still holding a grudge and wants revenge for what went down 8 years ago. He tries to set Allison's car on fire, but Will jumps in, tackling Vincent to stop him. A fight breaks out, and Vincent ends up getting caught in the flames. Will, desperate to save Allison, drives the cab into the water to put out the fire and free her. Just when Will thinks he's safe, Vincent reappears and attacks him again. Will manages to overpower him, finally taking him down for good. As the chopper arrives, the FBI picks up Will, who tells them Vincent's alive and confirms that Allison was, indeed, kidnapped. Later, Riley and Allison meet up with Will. Even though the FBI is watching, Will pretends to throw the gold in the river, but instead he tosses a rock, keeping the gold on the table.